Artificial intelligence is everywhere. But do you know how it started? From ancient times through the modern era, tracing the evolution and history of AI. From machine learning to Gen AI to Agentic AI.
Artificial intelligence, when did it begin? When did the idea come to life? AI did not begin in Silicon Valley. It did not begin with ChatGPT. It didn't even begin with computers. The idea of artificial intelligence is actually older than electricity. Hello and welcome to another episode of Xplained, brought to you by Newsx. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. Tonight we're talking about something that is reshaping economies, politics, warfare and even creativity. Long before modern science, human beings imagined artificial life. In ancient Greek mythology, there were stories of mechanical servants built by the god Hephaestus. In medieval times, inventors tried to build mechanical dolls and automated clocks. The desire was always the same. Can we create something that thinks like us? The first real scientific step towards AI came in the 1800s. British mathematician Charles Babbage designed something called the analytical engine, a mechanical machine that could perform calculations using punched cards. It was never fully built, but the idea was revolutionary. And then came Ada Lovelace. She realized something extraordinary. This machine, she argued, could do more than just calculate numbers. It could follow instructions, it could process symbols. In other words, it could execute what we now call an algorithm. Man historians consider the world's first computer programmer. Fast forward to 1950. A British mathematician named Alan Turing published a paper with a bold question: can machines think? Instead of defining thinking, Turing proposed a test. If a machine could carry on a conversation so convincingly that a human could not tell whether they were speaking to a machine or a person, then perhaps that machine could be said to be intelligence. This became known as the Turing test. And with that question, artificial intelligence moved from mythology to mathematics. By the early 1950s, the world had electronic computers. Governments were investing heavily in technology during the Cold War, and a small group of scientists believed something extraordinary was possible. Not just faster machines, thinking machines, and that brings us to 1956. The year artificial intelligence was officially born. The year is 1956. At Dartmouth College in the US, a small group of scientists gathered for a summer research project. One of them is computer scientist John McCarthy, and for the first time in history, a term is formally introduced: artificial intelligence. The proposal was bold, almost unbelievable. The researchers believed that every aspect of learning or intelligence could, in principle, be described so precisely that a machine could simulate it. In simple words, they thought human thinking could be turned into code. And remember, this was the 1950s. Computers were massive machines filling entire rooms. They had less computing power than your smartphone today, and yet the confidence was sky high. Many believed truly intelligent machines were just a couple of decades away. The early years were full of breakthroughs. In the late 1950s, psychologist Frank Rosenblatt developed something called the perception. It was one of the first artificial neural networks inspired by how the human brain processes information. It could learn to recognize simple patterns. This was revolutionary. Then in 1966, a program called ELIZA was created by computer scientist Joseph Weizenbaum. ELIZA could simulate conversation by rephrasing user inputs, almost like a therapist. For many people interacting with it, it felt shockingly real. But here's the catch: ELIZA did not understand anything. It was pattern matching. Even then, the illusion of intelligence was powerful. During the 1960s, the United States government poured money into AI research. Why? Because this was the height of the Cold War. If machines could translate languages instantly, if they could make battlefield decisions, if they could process intelligence data faster than humans, that could mean strategic advantage. AI wasn't just science anymore, it was geopolitics. But there was a problem. The promises were bigger than the reality. Early researchers predicted machines would soon understand natural language, solve complex problems, translate Russian instantly, even replicate human reasoning. But computers at the same time were too slow. Memory was limited, and human intelligence turned out to be far more complex than expected. By the early 1970s, disappointment began to grow. Funding agencies started asking tough questions. Where are the results? And that is when artificial intelligence entered its first major crisis, the AI winter. By the early 1970s, the excitement around artificial intelligence began to fade. The problem wasn't lack of ambition, it was reality. Machines could solve toy problems in laboratories, but they struggled in the real world. Language translation projects failed to deliver. Robots couldn't navigate unpredictable environments, and computers simply didn't have the power researchers had imagined. Governments that had invested heavily, especially in the United States and the United Kingdom, began cutting funding, and that period came to be known as the AI winter. The term AI winter doesn't mean research stopped completely, it means confidence collapsed. Money dried up, projects were cancelled, and the word artificial intelligence itself became risky to use in grant applications. In fact, many researchers quietly stopped calling their work AI and started using safer terms like pattern recognition or information processing. There were two major AI winters, the first in the mid-1970s, the second in the late 1980s. Why twice? Because AI actually made a comeback in between. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, a new approach gained popularity. Expert systems, these were programs designed to mimic the decision-making ability of human experts. Instead of trying to replicate general intelligence, they focused on narrow tasks. For example, diagnosing diseases, recommending financial decisions, and troubleshooting machinery. Corporations began adopting them. Japan even launched an ambitious national program called the Fifth Generation Computer Systems Project, aiming to leap ahead in computing. For a moment, it looked like AI was back. Once again, expectations outran reality. Expert systems were costly, rigid, and unable to learn. When the AI hardware market collapsed in the late 1980s, funding dried up, triggering a second AI winter. By the early 1990s, AI was seen as overhyped, but quietly a shift was underway. Computers were faster, data was growing, and a new approach was emerging. Machine learning. By the late 1990s, AI was rebuilding its credibility. Computing power was rising, the internet was exploding, and researchers were shifting from rigid rule-based systems to machine learning, training systems on data instead of programming every step. In 1997, a symbolic moment arrived. A supercomputer built by IBM, Deep Blue, defeated world chess champion Garry Kasparov. It wasn't modern AI, but it showed that machines could outperform humans in complex strategy. The real breakthrough came in 2012. A team led by Geoffrey Hinton transformed image recognition using deep neural networks in the ImageNet competition. This marked the beginning of the deep learning revolution. Then in 2016, DeepMind's AlphaGo defeated Go champion Lee Sedol. A game long believed too intuitive for machines, AI wasn't just calculating anymore, it was learning. By the mid-2010s, AI was accelerating. For years, AI worked quietly behind the scenes, powering search engines, recommendations, and fraud detection. But in 2022, it went mainstream. When OpenAI released ChatGPT, millions interacted with advanced AI directly for the first time. It became one of the fastest growing consumer applications ever. Generative AI could now write, code, create images, and hold conversations. It wasn't just analyzing data, it was generating content. Tech giants moved fast, Microsoft invested billions, Google accelerated its AI push, Nvidia's chips became the backbone of AI training. AI was no longer just research, it became an economic and geopolitical race. Now the debate has shifted to artificial general intelligence, or AGI, systems that could match human-level intelligence across tasks. Such systems do not yet exist, but progress has raised both excitement and concern. Governments are moving towards regulation. The European Union has introduced the AI Act. The United States and China are investing heavily. The global AI race is real. And so the history of artificial intelligence is not just about machines, it is about ambition, competition, and human curiosity. From ancient myths to modern algorithms, the question remains, if we can build something that thinks, what does that mean for us?
Artificial intelligence is everywhere. But do you know how it started? From ancient times through the modern era, tracing the evolution and history of AI. From machine learning to Gen AI to Agentic AI.